the news now at 5:30. We're joined by Buffalo's acting mayor, Chris Scanlon, for a monthly Ask the Mayor segment.
Now, the big story of the month has been an alleged cover-up. Erie County Sheriff Chief of Narcotics DJ Granville apparently hit several cars in Buffalo while on the clock. That still is in dispute and caused about $60,000 worth of damages. At least that was the settlement. Buffalo Police Internal Affairs Division is conducting its own investigation into how it conducted its investigation back in April. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. There is limited information that you can say about this because it's an ongoing internal investigation. First question is, what can you tell us about the progress of that investigation, and when do you think it could be wrapped up?
You know, as you mentioned, there's very little that I can talk about, and not just because it's under investigation, but because it's internal affairs. I'm not privy to any of that. So as far as the timeline of it, everything when it wraps up, that's when I'll find out, and we'll make the findings of that public, and we'll talk about it then.
Got it. Let me ask you then about your thoughts on that issue. You've seen the media reports just like everyone else.
Yeah.
You eventually will get to see the internal investigation that comes from your police department. You were not the mayor at the time that this allegedly occurred. You were not the leader of the police department when this investigation was initially conducted back in April of 2024. But you've seen the fallout and the allegations that are included in this. What is your reaction as the leader of this city of Buffalo?
Yeah, again, it's very difficult to comment on certain things, and I know members of the public that probably becomes frustrating for them. You know, they see things that come out in the media the same I do, but I am kind of handcuffed in what I can say, cannot say.
Shouldn't your police department be above board?
Yeah, so, and again, one thing I'm preaching as mayor, one of the things I've talked about from day one is, you know, accountability and transparency. So once this investigation wraps up, I can tell you that we will be as transparent as we can with it, and we will be holding people accountable. If
it turns out that a family member of the subject involved in this did indeed sign off as a lieutenant, should that person still have a job if the investigation shows exactly what happened?
Again, not knowing all the particulars of what took place that night, who's responsible for doing what, it's very difficult for me to comment on that.
Let's move on to the proposed budget. You said today the deficit could be $50 million, that budget due next week.
Yeah.
What's involved in the budget to get that deficit down, to bridge that gap?
Yeah, you know, it's an undertaking, really. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars. I believe it is. It's north of 50 million. And so we've got to be on the same page, myself, the council, the comptroller, other partners in government, making sure we're doing everything we can to try and close this gap and close it quickly. So we've proposed some new revenues to the state legislature. We're not asking for money. We're asking for the tools to be able to fix this on our own. You know, hotel tax, parking authority that would bring some money in. The majority leader of the assembly has been incredibly supportive. We've had conversations with the governor's office. So now we're looking for assistance from our partners at the Senate as well, and hopefully they'll follow suit and support us. On the expenditure side, we've talked to departments about reducing their spending, all stuff like that. So we're pulling this together over the course of the last couple of weeks. We've started meetings with the council members. We met with leadership today to talk to them, to give them an idea of where we stand and where we hopefully end up in another 2 weeks.
That parking authority, how much could that bring in if you sell off all the parking garages, give that to a private authority? And that's kind of just a one-time payment. Are you worried about that?
Yeah, I mean, you can't rely on one-time influxes of cash, right, to structurally fix the budget, but it would certainly serve as a cushion while we fix it structurally over the course of the next couple of years. And we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $40 million.
A couple of themes emerged from your State of the City address last week. One was that you believe the city of Buffalo is at an inflection point. Yeah. The other main theme, if you were to watch the entire 22 minutes or 24 minutes, what have you, was that Buffalo can do great things together.
Correct.
Now, there was a reason you had that theme in your State of the City, because you are going to need Buffalo and its residents and its taxpayers to work together. That is, pay more taxes in order to help close these budget gaps. This is a process that's going to take months, right, to pare down what that number is. But you have to have some idea of what a ballpark tax increase would be. What are you asking Albany for in terms of that tax increase?
So, you know, we presented a resolution to the council a couple weeks ago asking to exceed the tax cap, that's for sure. And we're finalizing that number now. But, you know, we're in this position because from 2007 through 2020, the tax levy didn't grow. There weren't tax increases that should have been taking place. And now we've got to play catch up. So, that's why we went to Albany with these other revenue sources. We're trying to, we have some other revenue sources, some smaller amounts, curbing our spending to limit the impact on residents. When we ultimately wind up with the tax increase that we do, hopefully it'll be a minimal impact to everyone. That's why last year, as council president, I proposed legislation that increased thresholds for some of our most vulnerable residents, whether it be seniors or disabled members of our community, so that they're not additionally burdened with that. So
last year too, if I may, you mentioned some of the changes that the council made to Byron Brown's budget, which called for an over 9% tax increase. You guys pared that way down to, I think it was like around 7 or maybe even, so you took off a couple of percentage. Are we looking at something higher than that? Are we north of 9%? Are we north of 7%?
No, we're not looking to do that. And again, last year we were able to work council, administration, controller. That's what we're going to do. You mentioned the state of the city, and the message that was coming out of that is partnership and collaboration. It's also why I asked to have it in council chambers. I asked the council to let me have it there because we're in this together, and we're only going to get out of this together working. Council members, controller, us, our state representatives, residents, all of us pulling in the same direction.
You can't go backwards, but there's got to be frustration. Are you frustrated with the mess that was left for you?
I don't look at, I can't look back. I've got to look forward at what we have to deal with. I mean, I quite frankly don't have the time to sit and worry about things that could have been done because things weren't done, but we're addressing the challenges in front of us. We're using them as opportunities for us to get better. I think we can be more efficient, be more cost effective, and again, make sure that we're working with all of our different partners to use every tool we have at our disposal.
Cost-effective and efficient are important, especially as we emerge from the winter into the spring. You've done your pothole blitz. We're talking about thousands of potholes that you and your team have been able to fill with that cold patch. If you've driven over it, you know there's still a hump there. It's not real smooth. But what do we think now as far as what is the city's plan, specifically when things get warm enough to start using that hot patch?
Yeah, we hit over 2,000 spots, 1,200 of which came through our 311 system. So that's us directly communicating with residents. So we know where the issues are that they're dealing with. We've been able to address them with the cold patch, like you mentioned. But moving forward, I've allocated $17 million this year to repave almost 200 streets throughout the city of Buffalo. And then again, once the asphalt plants open up, we'll hit the remaining potholes and make sure they're better filled.
Something really positive happening in the city of Buffalo, the theater district. A lot of money going towards Shays 710. Former Congressman Higgins, he is at the helm of that. What do you foresee for that area of Buffalo, and what are your thoughts on all of that excitement there?
Yeah, it's been a tough few years for downtown, right? Especially that Main Street corridor post-COVID. We have 25, 30,000 fewer people downtown on a daily basis. And the theater district and what they bring to the table, Shays in particular, Shays 710, they're their own little economy. Then the spin-off from that for restaurants and bars and everything down there. So we're going to continue to work with them and other employers down there, look to convert unused office space to residential space. But on our side, the city, we've got to also give people a reason to be down there. Make sure that there's things to do at 4, 5, 6 o'clock after work. So those people who are working remote are coming to say, you know what, I'm going to go to work today because X, Y, and Z is taking place after work. So hopefully we can entice some people to return to the office as well.
Chris Scanlon, the acting mayor of the city of Buffalo. Chris, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.